Hello, everyone. Alchemist here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your support. My dear gifted souls, many of you probably had a spiritual awakening before. What is a spiritual awakening? When the veil is lifted and you start to either see or feel or sense what's not there, the unknown, the spirit realm. And things don't make sense to you. Your life don't make sense anymore. Everything you've been taught since you were young don't make sense. School, your friends, your environment, your family. Suddenly you realize that everything was a lie. You were not supposed to go to school your whole life and then get a job and then get married and retire and die. That's not the point of life. You realize that you came here to learn something. You start to realize that you have had past lives, that reincarnation exists, and that your third eye is opening, or at least starting to open. But I'm not going to talk about the spiritual awakening itself because many of you already know that. I'm going to talk about what happens after you have a spiritual awakening. All of a sudden, you feel like you're alone. You're all by yourself. No one understands you. No one knows the things you can sense, the things you can feel. And for some people, they start seeing things as well. That was my case. In the beginning of my journey, I started seeing spirits. And you feel like you're not human anymore. You feel like you're from some other planet, some other dimension. And you feel like an alien, actually. And you don't know what to do. And this takes a toll on a lot of people. And a lot of people handled this situation in a destructive way. And I'm going to explain that. Because it's very hard to wake up one day and realize that you're not who you really are, that your name doesn't represent you, that your background, your culture, your family, your friends, your flag, your job, your profession, none of it represents you. None of it. It's like someone stripping you away from everything that made you who you are. And now you're naked without any clothes. And you don't know what to do. So this journey not only is difficult, but it can be tricky, it can be misleading. It's tough, but the danger is that it can be misleading because a lot of people end up becoming addicted to substances like weed, like ayahuasca, like mushrooms. And most people who are spiritual, that's what they do, unfortunately. Most spiritual people who have had a spiritual awakening one way or another, most of them end up going the route of psychedelics. And they think that's what spirituality is. And they teach it in events. They organize huge ceremonies just for ingesting psychedelics and whatnot, similar things. And they make YouTube videos about it. They write books about it. And they sell the idea that spirituality is having mushrooms. Spirituality is going to an ayahuasca ceremony. And many of the youth, and I was falling for that trap. I'm speaking from experience. I was falling for that trap myself. And a lot of youth, they fall for that. So they have a glimpse of a spiritual awakening and they start becoming addicted to these substances and they think that's spirituality. But you know what these people do? They're the ones who start teaching spirituality. You see why I said it's dangerous? You see why? Spiritual awakening can lead to a dangerous path. You become a druggie who claims to be spiritual. This is the same case for religion. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, All of these Abrahamic religions, the so-called monotheistic religions, it's the people who made them the way they are nowadays. It's not the religions itself. I'm pretty certain, and I know, that Jesus, Moses, Muhammad, and all of these, let's call them saints, who came here, they had a pure intention to help people, just like the Buddha. They actually were enlightened beings who were trying to help humanity. So they were trying to teach the right path, the Dharma, to humans, how to live a proper life, how to behave properly, how to act properly, how to not accumulate bad karma, to learn about the afterlife, to learn about your purpose, your calling. That's what they were trying to teach. But after their death, after these saints, after they died, look what humans have done with their teachings. They turned them into religions and started controlling people. It's the same thing for spirituality. It's the same thing. You have people who start claiming things and they start teaching it. And now everyone thinks that spirituality equals to smoking weed, equals to doing ayahuasca. And this is not going to change. It's going to stay like this forever and ever and ever. You know why? Because it has been like this since the beginning of time. There's always going to be people who are going to take the other path. The other path of what? The dangerous path. Don't get it twisted. The dangerous path is not the occult path, like what religion teaches you. Demons, occult, darkness. Oh, you're gonna be haunted. You're gonna be possessed. There's no danger in there. You're not gonna be possessed. You're not gonna be haunted. If you learn that spirits have their own dimension, they have their own world, and they all coexist on this planet, then you're not gonna be scared of any spirit. It's gonna become like seeing a cat passing by or seeing a dog passing by. There's nothing scary about the hidden. What's really scary is when people take certain divine teachings and turn them into control. That's the scary part. And spirituality has that as well. As I'm speaking nowadays, that's what's happening. So, after having a spiritual awakening, if you don't fall for those addictions, for the dangerous path, if you don't fall for that, then that's already amazing. Because, and I've seen it with many people, if you go that route, it's really hard to come out of it. If you become addicted to weed, to these psychedelics, it's hard to come out of it. It's very hard. You become so reliant on it. And you think that's what spiritual experience is when you have your mushrooms and you become addicted for life. And you know what's even more dangerous is that these people refuse to see otherwise. If you tell them, you're not supposed to have mushrooms, you want to really learn about real spirituality, it's not through mushrooms, it's not through ayahuasca. If you tell these people so, they're gonna be reluctant. They're not gonna want to change. So if you don't go down this path, that's already incredible, but it's still hard because you're still alone. You're still on your own. No matter how many gatherings you're gonna go to, no matter how many spiritual parties you're gonna go to, where everyone believes in the third eye, everyone believes in aliens, everyone thinks they see spirits, and you go to gatherings and parties, and again, I'm speaking from experience. I know what I'm talking about. I didn't read this in books. You go to these gatherings, to these parties, and everyone is the same, and you're like, yeah, I found my soul tribe, soul family. People love this word, soul tribe, soul family. Why do you say that? Because in that party, in that gathering, everyone is going to say, yeah, third eye, chakras. Yeah, yeah, I know my chakra this, my chakra that. My third eye is open. I can see spirits too. Yeah, I can feel the energy too. Everyone is going to say that, and you're going to feel so hyped and so happy and so energetic because now you think that everyone believes in the same thing that you believe in, or everyone feels the things that you are feeling. Great. It's good. You have something in common. But it stops there. These same people who you're going to meet in gatherings, when it's not the gathering, there's no guarantee that they're going to be your best friends. There's no guarantee that they're going to be good friends. If anything, a lot of these people are just pretentious. If anything, a lot of these people are actually the people who will bash on you behind your back. I'm just telling you the truth. If anything, a lot of people hide behind these spiritual concepts. They hide, they put it as a front, as a mask to hide their true identity, which is cunning, which is toxic, and not loving whatsoever. But they hide behind it. And they're gonna portray themselves as spiritual gurus. And you will fall for that. You will fall for it. But there are good people. I'm not saying that good people don't exist. But the problem is these good people who are actually spiritual, and I hate to break it to you, but they don't go to those gatherings. You're not going to find them in these parties. They do exist, but you're not going to find them in these spiritual parties. They don't go there. So if you're meant to meet one of them one day, you're going to meet one of them, but it's not going to be in these gatherings where people label them soul tribe or soul family. You're going to find them usually on their own, hermiting somewhere. And you might come across them in the most unusual, unexpected way. So that's why that's another difficult thing to overcome, because I've seen a lot of people who make friends in these gatherings and they call them best friends and they're like, yeah, my best friend is also spiritual. They also have their third eye open. Yes, that's my family, my tribe. And then down the road, they get hit with a crazy betrayal. It could be any kind of betrayal. They stab you in the back, or they say something behind your back, or they just do something that is unspiritual. That's the opposite of spirituality. Maybe you need help with some very difficult problem and then they disappear. Or it could be anything. But this happened to a lot of people. A lot of people. And you know what happens after that? Now you start losing hope in spirituality and you think that all spiritual people are not good. It's like, the vegans who taint the reputation of what true veganism is really about. And they start guilting anyone and everyone just because they're eating meat. It's like that. So now everyone thinks vegans are a joke. Because in the beginning, it had a really beautiful meaning. But then when the people starts just imposing their views on others, which is the wrong way of doing things again, then you taint the image of what this thing is really about. So it's the same thing for these spiritual gatherings. You have a best friend, he or she's spiritual. 2 years later, they stab you in the back. Now you think that spirituality is bullshit. You think that spiritual people are a joke. So it's a really hard path. Because in addition to what I said, you're not going to find spiritual people or people who claim to be spiritual everywhere. They're already a minority. So if within the minority you find someone who betrays you or stabs you in the back, it's even worse. Because you're going to lose hope. You're going to think you're probably not going to make any spiritual friend anymore because they are the minority already. Maybe you have an amazing friend and he or she's spiritual and you guys get along and you learn together. That's wonderful. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but it's a hard path. You're going to find yourself lonely most of the time. And you're going to do your practice or learning or readings or connecting to nature, and you're going to find yourself alone. But what if I tell you, and this is probably going to shock some of you, that it is supposed to be like that? The spiritual path is supposed to be taken alone because the universe wants to strip you away from everything you think you know so you can become all by yourself, so you can explore your core, because you can only explore your core if you're all by yourself, your true core, your soul. You can't explore that if you have best friends around you all the time. That's never going to happen. So it's all in divine alignment. The more you walk on this path, the more you're going to find yourself alone and more alone and more alone and less people around you and less people around you. But it is supposed to be like that. When the Buddha gained enlightenment, before the first 7 years of him doing the work, he was with a group of monks. They were traveling together, but there were only 5 people. I think 5, and he was the 6th one, I think. It's a very small number. But at the end, towards the end, he was by himself when he sat under the tree. At the end of his journey before he gained enlightenment, he was all by himself. There was no one with him. Jesus, the same thing. Before he started preaching his teachings, he was all by himself. And there's records that Jesus used to spend a lot of time by himself, a lot. Before he was known as Jesus the Messiah, he used to spend a lot of time by himself. The same thing in Islam for Muhammad. Before he received the word of God, he used to be by himself all the time. In caves, in a cave, he used to go and sit there and meditate for hours and hours and days and days. So the path requires you to be by yourself. It's what's required. The universe is going to lead you to becoming on your own. So don't think about it as something negative. It's actually a blessing in disguise. If you find yourself on this path, if you think it's tough, it's challenging, and at the same time you're all by yourself, know that you're on the right path. It's a blessing in disguise because you're learning. You're finally learning about who you are. But whatever you're learning from this journey, which is to protect your energy, not to let others control who you are, not to let others dictate your life. Be a good person, help others whenever you can, accumulate good karma, and so on and so forth. All of the beautiful traits that you learn on this journey, you have to also apply them. Because the more you apply them, the more you get closer to uncovering your soul. So it's not just about learning. It's not just about knowledge. So many people have incredible knowledge, way more than me, way more than you. People have written books about knowledge, about any kind of knowledge, the occult or even other fields. But it's not about knowledge. It's not about having knowledge. It's about applying that knowledge. It's about knowing when is the right time to apply a certain knowledge that you have learned before. And through experience of applying that knowledge, then you harness wisdom. So wisdom is applying the knowledge plus experience of applying that knowledge, if that makes sense. Then it becomes wisdom. So on your journey, as you're learning from your experiences, as you're learning knowledge, you have to apply it in your life. For example, if something is not meant to be, before you would get upset and angry and frustrated, and you say that you're not lucky or whatnot and be very negative. But on this journey, you're going to say, I know this is meant to be. This didn't manifest. It didn't happen. I wanted it. It didn't happen. It means it's not meant to be. Let's move on. What's next? See the difference? That's how you apply the spiritual knowledge that you're learning. Before, you acted like a normal person and you become upset and frustrated because you didn't get what you want. Now, you don't get what you want. You accept that it's okay. It's not meant to be in your life. You accept that and you're still happy. The same thing for dealing with the people around you, your family and your friends. And this is some of the most challenging thing for spiritual people is to deal with their families and their close friends who are probably not spiritual. Most of the time, they're not. You're going to find yourself being the black sheep of your family. So your family and friends, they're not spiritual. They don't understand these things, but you still have to deal with them. So how do you do it? Before, you probably used to get frustrated and upset and angry, and even you would cut people or you would stay away from them, or you would even do some childish behaviors like lashing at people if they say something that upsets you or something that goes against what you believe. You either lash at them or you become angry at them or you start arguments and very toxic low frequencies. Maybe that's what you used to do before. And it's okay. It's okay. But now on this path, if someone says something that used to upset you, now it doesn't upset you anymore. Now you just understand that you're on different paths and that opinions will differ and that there's no need to argue with anyone. With your parents, they helped you when you were young. They fed you, they took care of you. So appreciate them, love them, regardless of their beliefs, regardless of what they think about your life. Yeah? To them, it doesn't make sense, but it's okay. It doesn't have to upset you. You shouldn't be triggered. Keep respecting them the same way. Keep loving them the same way. They're your parents. They're doing the best with what they can. And they will always have unconditional love for you. Your parents will always have unconditional love for you. Maybe there are some exceptions, but normally that's how it works. Even if they disagree with your beliefs, with your path, with your journey, or they think that what you're doing is probably not good for you, you can disagree with them, but no need to argue, no need to fight. Respect who they are. They're your parents. They allowed you to come to this dimension. It's because of them. Remember that. And if it wasn't them, it's going to be other parents. So it always has to be parents. Parents are the door to this dimension. Any parents from any place in the world, they're the door to this dimension. So always respect them, even if you guys don't agree about the same thoughts or ideas. Respect them, love them, appreciate them, be grateful to them for raising you, especially if you're healthy and if you are doing well and if they helped you. Be grateful for them, for their existence. And the same thing for your friends. You don't have to force anyone to accept your life or to force anyone to agree with your beliefs. Or you don't have to impose your beliefs on anyone. If anything, maybe they don't need to know what you're doing. If you're on this path, the people who are not ready to understand your path, you don't need to tell them. And it could be even your parents. You meet them, you talk to them, but you don't tell them about the spiritual path. Why is there a need for you to tell your parents? There's no need. Why is there a need for you to tell your friends? Why? Are you obligated? No. No one is obligating you to do anything. It's your life. You do with it whatever you want. It's your life on earth. You live your life for yourself. But this comes with experience because in the beginning, most of the time, when you just have a spiritual awakening, you're going to find yourself wanting to share it with everyone. These concepts, these spiritual concepts, you want to share them with everyone. You want to convince everyone that it's the right thing to do, that it's the best thing to do, just like religious people. But that's what religious people do, right? But in the beginning, you want to share with everyone and you want to tell your friends, your best friends, your parents, everyone, because you think this is something amazing. It's your intentions are good. You think it's everyone should know this. And that's why you start saying it to everyone and sometimes even imposing it on some people without even realizing it, especially if it's your family, because your family is the closest to you. So subconsciously, you're imposing on them your beliefs and your ideas. Maybe they're not ready to hear that yet. Maybe it's not their path. But in the beginning, a lot of people do this. But as you walk on this path with time, with learning, with experience, you start to harness mastery. And what's mastery? Mastery is to learn that everyone is on different paths and that your path doesn't have to apply to other people. You can still talk to these people. You can still have a conversation with them and love them and cherish them and respect them, but they don't have to walk your path. And you don't have to walk their path either. So you're going to talk to each person based on their level of awareness, on their level of understanding. Certain things you might share with your parents, let's say, and others you will not. There are things that you can say or cannot say depending on the person, depending on the level of awareness of that person. And sometimes you might talk to a normal person and you're going to speak to them as a normal person. That's real mastery. As a normal person. They won't even have a shroud of doubt that you are a spiritual person. That's real mastery. And they're going to think that you're just a regular person living a regular life. But there's nothing wrong with that because you're matching their frequency. Because you're a master. You're matching their level of understanding. It's like when talking to a kid. When you talk to children to 5 or 6 years old, do you talk to them with the same level as if you're talking to someone your age? No. You, first of all, reduce your tone. You talk in a kinder way because they're still children. And you tone down your level of even the way you ask the question. You're going to ask an easy question. You're going to speak in a different manner. You calibrate and adjust your level depending on the person you speak to. And for the people, and you're going to meet them, who are willing to hear everything about you, and they are on the same wavelength and they're totally opened to the occult, to spirituality, then you can tell them everything. What's going on your journey, on your spiritual path, and they'll understand you because maybe they're also on that level as well. Because I know a lot of spiritual people or people who have spiritual awakening, they end up arguing with their families. This happens a lot, especially if it's religious families. It's chaos. The family is religious and the son or the daughter, one day they're like, oh, I'm spiritual. That's going to be just chaotic. It could be even for other families who are atheists, for example, not only religious families, but One way to tackle this is to realize that, first of all, your parents don't need to know what you believe or don't believe. Why do they need to know it? If they're not ready to understand your journey, there's no need to tell them that journey. If a friend is not ready to understand what you're going through, your spiritual awakening, there's no need to tell that friend your spiritual awakening. That's how it works. So the more you walk on this path, the more you're going to learn how to move forward while adjusting and calibrating with people, with situations, with challenges, with locations. How do you behave when you're in an administration trying to get a paper or a document for something? How do you behave in an airport? How do you behave in a coffee shop? How do you behave when you're in a family with a lot of people and it's a family gathering? Even though you're spiritual and you're aware, your awareness level is higher than anybody else. But how do you behave yourself in each situation? But know that this journey is all about this. Everything you're going to come across as a challenge is part of the learning for this journey. And that's how you uncover who you are. That's how you transmute your energy into something beautiful. That's how you get rid of your toxic traits and behaviors. You get rid of your addictions. It doesn't matter what it is. Is it anger? Is it passive aggressiveness? Is it lashing on people? Is it looking down on people? Whatever it is that you had as a normal person, on this path, you're going to learn to shed it away. All of it. So it's not part of your life because it's not who you are. You picked it up. It became part of you at some point, but it's not who you are. And it's negative. So on this beautiful path, you're going to transmute these things into something beautiful. And you're going to learn how to talk to each person differently, to your family, to your friends, to strangers, and keep peace with everyone you encounter. Because that's what real spirituality and enlightenment is all about. If you read the stories of the Buddha or Jesus or all the saints that have existed, that's was their life. They kept peace with everyone, even their enemies. They even knew how to deal with their enemies without anger, without hostility. That's the goal if you're on this journey. But it is challenging. It's not easy. Many could have chosen a comfortable path, having a day job or a 9 to 5 and living a normal life and making lots of money. But if you decide to embark on the spiritual journey instead of living a normal life, you are a courageous person because this path is not easy, but it leads you to uncovering your soul and who you are. Thank you very much. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.